Well, that's the news this hour. We're back at 7:25 with another update.
Until then, have a good morning, and Good Morning America is coming up next.
Clouds mixed with sunshine today, maybe some late-day sprinkles as well.
Good morning, America. I'm Joan Lunden. It is Friday, October 30th. The election is just 4 days away, and all of us, of course, have a huge stake in what happens next Tuesday. So today we have a special broadcast for Americans eager to learn more about the men running for president. An hour from now, Charlie Gibson will be sitting down with Governor Bill Clinton at the Candlewick Diner in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where we've gathered some people to talk with the Democratic candidate. But we begin this hour here with what we hope will be a lively debate about the economy among three men who will speak for the candidate's views. New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan will speak for Bill Clinton. South Carolina Governor Carroll Campbell fills in for George Bush. And for Ross Perot, his general counsel, Clay Mulford, is joining us from Dallas. But first, we have the news with Mike Schneider. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Joan. Good morning, everyone. We begin this morning with bozo, waffles, and ozone. No, it's not a new kids show. These are just some of the words that are now playing a major role in the last few days of the presidential campaign. The name-calling has gotten rather strong lately, so strong that in the opinion of many, it is obscuring the issues. But last night on prime time, Sam Donaldson got Mr. Bush and Mr. Clinton to talk about one of the biggest issues, taxes.
Let's look at your program. People have added up what they can see of your program, and they find that you're about $440 billion short in identifying the cuts that you say are necessary to make your program balanced.
What people are saying that? Are they allowing for any growth in the economy?
They're allowing for growth, but not at the rate that you're allowing for. You have Rosie's scenario out there.
Well, not rosy by any historic standard, Sam. 4.2, 4.2 plus 3. Well, we're not going to be in an anemic growth pattern forever. I mean, we're growing. We're out of a recession.
You say now that no new taxes ever. Is that a flat promise?
Hey, listen, I've learned something. When I said, read my lips, I had to eat my words because I went along and made a compromise with the Democrats on the Democratic tax increase. And I think it was a mistake. And unlike Governor Clinton, who is on all sides of every issue, like you and me, you've admitted mistakes, and I've admitted mistakes, and I do. But I've learned from that the firmness of a pledge can be used against you. It is my every intention to say, get the taxes down. The way you don't stimulate jobs, don't invest in government, give us an investment tax allowance.
Let's talk about taxes. Now, you say you're going to tax the wealthy. And according to your own estimate, this is not the Wall Street Journal, you're going to raise about $20 billion a year.
That's correct.
From taxing the wealthy. Then you say you're going to give the middle class, and for that matter, everyone gets your tax cut. And that's going to lose about $50 billion over a 4-year aggregate. So in effect, it's a transfer payment. You're not making money by taxing the wealthy to go toward the national debt, to go toward the infrastructure. You're just giving tax relief to the middle class and the rest of us too.
No, that's not. Well, let's look at the whole package, though. You can't just look at it that way.
Well, what I said is true, isn't it?
What you said is accurate, but not the whole truth. Let's talk about the whole truth. We're going to raise, over a 5-year period, about $30 billion a year. And then, over that same 5-year period, we're going to reduce taxes by about $25 billion a year. Most of that will go to investment incentives, like the investment tax credit, new business capital gains, and for middle-class tax relief, especially targeted to people with families. Now,
as we were saying, those comments are relatively civil compared to what you're hearing out there on the campaign trail these days. And for more on that, and a look at what's ahead now between now and Election Day next Tuesday, the two people who have been covering the Bush and the Clinton campaigns for us. First of all, ABC's Ann Compton covering the president. Ann's in Nashville this morning. And ABC's Ron Claiborne, who's been covering Mr. Clinton, is with us here in New York. Morning to both of you. First of all, Ann, the president has taken a decidedly different tack as of late. Words like bozo, ozone, far out to describe his opponents. So one wonders, is the president speaking off the top of his head, or has Rush Limbaugh suddenly signed on as a speechwriter for him?
I think all of these words might explode right off the top of his head, but all of them are rooted in solid issues. For instance, the president does call Senator Gore ozone man because of his environmental views. The line about bozos came when the president said he thinks his dog Millie knows more about foreign policy than those two bozos on the Democratic ticket. What it does reflect is a candidate who is in such overdrive right now, Mike, that I think that he is allowing the rhetoric to carry it all a step beyond the issues that he's been talking about for the last couple of months.
Ron, let me ask you, what is Mr. Clinton's reaction when he hears himself described that way? What have you been hearing from the campaign and the candidate?
They don't like it, clearly. They think the rhetoric has gotten much more heated than, quote-unquote, necessary. But Bill Clinton has been firing back with his own broadsides against the president, in so many words, calling him a liar and a hypocrite in recent days, saying that he's been running false ads about his record and about the programs he would enact as president, and saying that he has reneged on many of the promises he made in 1988. So the rhetoric is clearly heating up on both sides now.
Does Clinton plan to keep it on a personal level or try to steer it back to the issues? Can he feel he can do that in any confidence?
He'll tell you he's trying to steer it back to the issues, but I think what you're going to see over the next 5 days is some hard-hitting personal attacks. In many ways, he said yesterday that he's going to hang this thing on him in the next 5 days. You're going to see a lot more of this, I think.
And where does the president, who has to come from behind according to all the polls, even the ones that are very close right now, where does he have to go in his mind to get the electoral votes necessary for victory?
Well, I think you're exactly right. The high rhetoric is driven by the fact that the race has narrowed on the popular vote, and President Bush wants very much in states like Tennessee, Wisconsin tomorrow, Michigan, Ohio. They're convinced that you can put together the magic number of 270, but it's the kind of overdrive that's bringing out the rhetoric.
And have to leave it there. Appreciate it. ABC's Ann Compton in Nashville for us this morning, and Ron Claiborne here with us in New York. Our thanks to both of you. As for the polls, where do they stand this morning? The latest ABC News tracking poll of likely voters puts Clinton now 9 points ahead of Bush. Ross Perot, as now you can see, has slipped a bit. He is now below 16%. We should mention that the polls now for NBC and CNN, their latest polls, have Bush and Clinton virtually neck and neck when you consider the margin of error built into both those polls, and in both those polls as well, Ross Perot is a distant third. That doesn't appear to be phasing Perot as of right now. He was back on Larry King Live once again last night. Perot was saying that President Bush is history, and that he, Perot, is going to win on Tuesday.
All 50 states, we're going to have a landslide victory. We're in a 2-minute drill now, to use football analogies. 2-minute drill. We're going for it. And just when you wake up Wednesday morning, I think you're going to say, well, I'll be darned. Look at what the people did. And that'll be exciting for this country.
And a reminder before we go, Bill Clinton will be our guest in the next hour right here on Good Morning America. He'll be having breakfast with Charlie Gibson at a diner in New Jersey, and holding a town hall meeting with the voters there as well. That's it for now. Time to check in on the weather situation with Spencer.
Okay, Mike, it looks like it's going to be a mostly sunny Friday up and down the nation's midsection through the plains into the upper Mississippi Valley, and the extreme northeastern states will see sunshine. It'll be a bit cloudy and soggy from about the mid-Atlantic states through the lower Ohio Valley down to the Gulf Coast. Showers throughout much of the day. And in the northwest, we've got some very stormy weather with heavy rainfall, strong gusty winds, and heavy snowfall in the higher elevations of the Cascades, the Siskiyous, the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Some of these mountains have about 2 to 3 feet of snow from just the last couple of days. More will fall today, pushing eastward as well into the northern and central Rockies. Over the weekend, look for clearing skies in the southwest, northwest, down through the nation's midsection will be soggy. A weekend washout here in the plains, and in the southeast, it'll be drying off nicely and clearing out in the northeast. That's a look at the national weather picture. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Good morning, everybody. Channel 5's Rick Mitchell here with a local look at what you can expect for weather. Really not a whole lot different than what we've been having the past couple of days. Sunshine to the north, clouds and rain to the south, and we're going to be right in between that. So let's call it a partly sunny or mix of clouds and sunshine day with highs in the 40s. Rain will move in for the weekend. 5cast for Des Moines and vicinity, clouds and sunshine, maybe some late day sprinkles, a high of 48. Have a great weekend.
Coming up on 9 minutes past the hour, our own great debate on the issue of the economy when Good Morning America continues.
This is Bob Hope. You know, to stop cancer requires expert knowledge from every field of science. The National Foundation for Cancer Research has organized an international network of scientists. Together they believe they'll find...
You know what tastes better on Grant's Farm bread?
Toast tastes better, jam is nicer. Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread.
Spreads taste livelier, pickles are crunchier.
Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread.
And why? Because Grant's Farm tastes so good all by itself, and it's cholesterol-free.
Beef is tastier, peppers are snappier. Everything tastes better on Grant's Farm bread. Everything tastes better. better on Grant's Farm Bread.
Taste them.
We at Reichardt's Clothing are here to help you get what you want. We're told by Southwick, our major suit supplier, that we do more men's special order business than any store of its kind in the United States of America. Reichardt's can special order almost anything in men's apparel that you might want. From Southwick, we can make your clothing made to measure if you're difficult to fit, or if you want a special fabric or a special color or even a special design. And we'll do this at regular in-stock prices. Reichardt's can special order suits not made by Southwick, but made by American craftsmen at prices that start at $195. We'll special order slacks, pleated or plain front. We'll special order dress shirts, shoes, ties, you name it. So if you're hard to fit or hard to please or want something special, ask us to help you get what you want, and we'll do it. You'll be completely satisfied when you shop here, because no sale is ever final here. And I'll see to it, because I'm here. I'm Bill Reichard, and I own the store. Please stop by.
Congressman Neil Smith has lived in Iowa his whole life, except for the time he spent in the military service and in college. He doesn't waste time blaming others because he's too busy working to make Iowa a better place for you and your family. Just look around and you'll see the education, small business, agriculture, and conservation developments he's created that have produced jobs and attracted industry to Iowa. A vote for Neil Smith is a vote for our future. Neil Smith, a fighter for Iowa.
Minds today, and that is the economy. And we have invited representatives to speak for the candidates. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan will represent Bill Clinton. Governor Carroll Campbell of South Carolina will speak for President Bush. And Clayton Mulford, General Counsel of the Perot 92 campaign, will stand in for Ross Perot. He joins us from Perot headquarters in Dallas. We welcome you all to the program this morning. And I'm going to start by saying that I'm going to address a question to all of you. You will each have 45 seconds to respond, and then we will have rebuttal time. Senator Moynihan, we drew straws last night, and you will start this debate. The question, the goal of the candidates, all three of them, is, of course, to get the economy going. Tell us, please, why your candidate's plan, Bill Clinton's plan, is better than the others.
Bill Clinton's plan is best simply because it's there. It exists. It's a real set of propositions about an economy which is sluggish. The Wall Street Journal says that this morning, that 2.7% growth last quarter, not half what we need. $20 billion a year, mostly in infrastructure, right off the mark. I am, as happens, chairman of the Committee on Environment and Public Works, and we're planning it right now. January 20, go. Because it's been so slow, and if we look out, we're going to go down again.
All right, Mr. Mulford in Dallas. How about Mr. Perot's plan?
Our problem is that every taxpayer west of the Mississippi is paying their income taxes solely to service the national debt. We think that's a waste of money that should be better put to other resources or in other avenues. But the big issue is that we need to change the way government operates so that we stimulate private investment through intelligent government policies in the sector which produces jobs in the marketplace, and that is the small business sector. So with targeted tax credits over certain levels of investment, extension of the 20% tax credit, and other techniques under the Perot plan will attempt to apply business logic to government policies rather than increasing government consumption, which does nothing to produce long-term job growth.
All right, Mr. Mulford, thank you. We turn now to Governor Campbell for President Bush's plan.
President Bush has a little different opinion than Governor Clinton. He believes that the private sector should lead the economy instead of the federal government. And so there's a difference in philosophy. The president has proposed that we continue to try to open markets to expand our trade opportunities in this country. He has also worked for tax credits, capital gains relief, small business relief. He has also come forward with a $6 billion loan guarantee program. And the main thing is the regulatory, the tax, and the legal relief that business needs to move ahead. We are now in a quarter that had a 2.7% growth. We are in our sixth quarter of growth. The world has been in a recession, and America's economy is stronger than the rest of the world. Quite frankly, we don't need to send our money to Washington.
All right, Governor, there's that bell to tell you you've had your 45 seconds. We now each have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Again, I'll go back to you, Senator Moynihan.
Sure. The economy is in a long period of anemic growth. It hasn't happened. And the world is watching it not happen. And the Bill Clinton campaign is saying, let's do something. Not permanently, not a large public works program that goes on indefinitely, but one that starts on January 20 and gets this economy up where it needs to be. We have had 4 years of no growth in private employment. You want another 4 years?
All right, Mr. Mulford down in Dallas.
Yeah, I think that Senator Moynihan's is misguided here on the need for government expenditures. What we need is an intelligent government policy. The problem is that the Democrats and the Republicans have both had the opportunity to present their plans to the American people, and nothing seems to change and nothing seems to happen. We need to address the issues head on and not be shackled by political meandering back and forth between the two political parties. We think that the purpose of government needs to have a supportive role of business, whereas Governor Campbell thinks that it needs to not exist, and that an anti-government approach, which we think is misguided in the coming century.
All right, Governor Campbell, your chance for rebuttal.
Well, quite frankly, the president has won the peace for us in the world, and he can lead us into prosperity in the domestic economy. He wants to let the private sector lead us. Bill Clinton wants to raise taxes. He wants to spend $220 billion in new monies that he cannot account for where it's coming from, and that is not a way to lead this economy out.
All right, in our next round, we're going to open up the discussion a bit for you to interact. I'm going to begin with you, Mr. Mulford. One of the recurring issues throughout this entire campaign, of course, has been trust. How can voters trust and be assured that your candidate, Mr. Perot, can be trusted to carry out the promises that he has made now to solve the economic problems of this country?
Easy. He doesn't have a political motivation to not solve them. In the current situation, you have the Republican Party and the Democratic Party following traditional views of anti-government on the Republican side, and government as a countervailing force to business on the Democratic side. Ross Perot would enter the administration without a political game plan to ensure his reelection, without having to make political concessions or repay political debts. It can be a consensus government following the position in the economy and in political science where most of the American population rests, and that's in the same center of the political spectrum, where you have an intelligent approach to government, where government is supportive of business in order to generate job growth.
Senator Moynihan? Well, I know Bill Clinton, and I know I trust him. I worked with him very closely in 1988 on the revising our welfare programs to produce an ethic of personal responsibility. I know that Governor Campbell, who was about the most respected governor in this country, I say Bill Clinton apart perhaps in my own, that worked with Governor Clinton on the education initiative of the Governors Conference in 1990. The governors of the United States chose him the finest governor in the land. They picked him to be head of the Governors Association. That's a statement of people who worked with him, trust him, believe in him, as I certainly do, and I hope you will.
Governor Campbell, Ross Perot has made the deficit his primary target when he comes to trying to repair our economy. Some
Could I speak to this trust question first, since I didn't get my turn on that?
Go ahead.
Quite frankly, I think that Bill Clinton has caused his own problem with trust, and a lot of it came over the different explanations on the draft. His middle income tax cut, which he said that he was going to have, and then now says is not central to his plan. And quite frankly, he scared people on Social Security when he said that if anybody draws more from Social Security than they pay in, they should pay more. And then he backed off of that statement. So I think his confusing statements and what he really stands for is what has caused his real concern, the American people's real concern for him.
Go ahead, Senator.
I'm chairman of the subcommittee on Social Security, and no one's going to touch it, whatever his name is, but Bill Clinton doesn't intend to. His purpose is to see that a solid trust fund remains just that, and I am absolutely persuaded he means it and understands it.
In the debate of October 19th, Bill Clinton said this, and I quote, "Now, should people pay more for Medicare if they can? Answer, yes. Should they pay more for Social Security if they get more out of it than they paid in? Yes. They ought to be upper middle income people."
Mr. Mulford, let me come to you with a question I was going to ask Governor Campbell, and that is that a lot of critics say that Ross Perot's solution to repairing the deficit is too painful, that the Americans really are not willing to go along with a plan that is that painful. What do you say to those people?
Number one, don't confuse intelligence with pain. We believe that the American people, when they're educated to the problems, embrace and understand the issues that we face, and the pandering of political parties based on constituencies and fear tactics by threats to Social Security are irrelevant. We think that if you educate the American people on the problems that we face, they will recognize the issues that the government must approach. We were advised against using half-an-hour TV shows with flip charts discussing the economic problems of the country. Instead of a negative result, we saw a tremendous audience and an embracing of the problems that the country faces. We give the American people more credit than that. There are polls that show that everyone knows that after this election, taxes will go up. The business community knows there may be a banking crisis. We talk about these things now, will be proved right. We just hope Ross Perot will be there to address them directly rather than pandering 4 years from now for re-election by one of the other political parties.
Governor, what would your candidate say as far as how quickly the American people should really be prepared to try to turn this problem around, if they would be willing to go along with the Ross Perot
I think
plan?
that the American people are already turning the problem around. I think our productivity is up. I think that we're beginning to see growth in the country. We're seeing more investment here. But people really need to ask themselves what they want in a president. They need somebody with experience in foreign policy, in defense, and in the private sector, as well as a person of good character. All of these are needed to move this country forward. After all, we're not just electing the president. Whether we like it or not, we are electing the leader of the free world.
All right, it's now time for closing. I want to give each of you an opportunity to have a closing statement here. And we begin with Governor Campbell for closing statements.
Thank you very much. As I said, we have to ask ourselves what qualities we want in a president. President Bush has experience in the private sector. He has created jobs. He's met payrolls. He has foreign policy experience that has led us through the problems in Europe, in Central America, and in the Middle East. He has national defense experience for having not only served his country in time of war, but of course heading the CIA, and like Senator Moynihan, serving at the UN and other places. He understands. And I think that's important in any president. And certainly he has character.
Mr. Mulford in Dallas for your candidate.
When I hear the remarks by the senator and the governor, I am reminded that every 4 years we hear the same sort of jargon in discussing the nation's issues. Then nothing seems to happen, things go away. We're talking about looking towards the future. What foundation do we need for the 21st century in the American economy? And what we need is a new approach to government. We need a government that's supportive of business and encourages investment to generate jobs in this private sector. And those jobs come from small business. It's not enough just to turn our backs on small business and let free enterprise go its own way. That doesn't work in the international economy. That's what we're going to face in the future, and that's why Ross Perot needs to be elected to address those problems.
All right, and Senator Moynihan, your
I'm
comments?
going to begin by quoting Ross Perot. Last June 24, news conference, he said, "Do you realize your government is still totally organized to fight the Cold War?" And he's right. That 50 years of Cold War has frozen our government, and it stays that way. It won't change until the presidency changes to a generation that can accept this and make the most of it. A wonderful opportunity, which we have, thank God. And listen, whatever happens, this great country is going to be here, and I think the future is going to be much better.
Senator Moynihan, Governor Campbell, Mr. Mulford in Dallas, thank you all very much. And in our next hour, Bill Clinton will be with us. Good Morning America continues.
Good morning, Mr. Clark.
Equality, an interesting word. Some people want me to pay more for my car insurance and life insurance, the same high rates that men pay. I cannot afford that kind of equality. The same people say I should have the right to marry a woman and my brother the right to marry a man. Equality? He's got to be kidding. This peculiar kind of equality is called ERA. They even threaten to take away my dad's veterans benefits because he's a man. If they pass the ERA in Iowa, these people will push for a national ERA to force women to go into military combat. That's some equality. Equal pay for equal work and equal opportunity. That's already the law in Iowa. But ERA is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't want that kind of equality because I already have real equality, and I won't let them take away our freedoms. On November 3rd, vote no on ERA.
You know, there's a trick to keeping your older appliances going. Because when the magic's gone, it's gone. And when your appliances have you doing odd jobs around the house, it's time time to go to Best Buy. This group gets 0% for 1 year on major appliances. That's 0% for 1 year on washers, dryers, dishwashers, ranges, refrigerators, and freezers. Get it this week at Best Buy and leave the odd jobs to your appliances.
Read my lips. Jefferson Auto Plaza going to bring you and your new car together.
We're not like the politicians. We're for real. We sell for less, and we're from a small town with low overhead and great prices. For example, we've got this 1992 Ford Taurus for only $248 a month, or you can lease this brand new Taurus for only $249 a month. Bring your title and checkbook to the Jefferson Auto Plaza located next to the Redwood Motel on Highway 30, or give us a call at 515-386-8175.
This is the Channel 5 News Update.
Good morning. It's 7:25 right now. I'm Renee Starzyk with this news update. With the election just days away now, the Republicans are bringing in some more big names to court voters right here in Iowa. Vice President Dan Quayle will visit Sioux City later this afternoon. Then tomorrow morning, Quayle heads to Cedar Rapids. The nation's Secretary of Agriculture is also making a swing through our state. Dale Madigan has stops planned in Cedar Rapids, Hudson, Marshalltown, and Des Moines.
Calling to see if you've mailed in your ballot.
The Republicans aren't the only ones making a big push in these final days of the campaign. All three political parties are working round the clock right now, contacting voters. If someone hasn't called you yet, odds are they will sometime before Tuesday. Volunteers from the Bush, Clinton, and Perot campaigns all say they've had some sleepless nights recently. All say that won't stop them from keeping up the pace until the polls close Tuesday night. Iowa women joined forces last night in the fight against domestic abuse. As Scott Smith tells us, victims hope together they can shed light on the problem and the solutions.
These are the survivors. They've been abused or know someone who's been. Each candle burns for them, shining bright like their futures shine now that they've escaped their abusers. But many of the other candles simply flicker, because for some, the abuse hasn't stopped. Behind each of the candles, there's a face. Some ask to keep theirs hidden, much the same way domestic abuse is often hidden from society. But behind another candle, there is a face and a voice willing to speak out. This face belongs to Joanne, a survivor.
In 1990, my husband stabbed me. When I went to the hospital, I told what happened, and I was at the point that I knew the abuse had to stop.
Joanne says she suffered at the hands of her abuser, but no more. She's speaking out because together she believes domestic abuse can be stopped.
Never a doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever does.
Iowa's Attorney General Bonnie Campbell also is speaking out. She's working to make stopping domestic abuse not only a local, but a national issue. By declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, these women, men, and children hope to break the silence surrounding domestic abuse and toughen the laws against the abusers. Every 15 seconds, another person becomes the victim of domestic abuse. In the time since I began my report, more than 6 people have been abused. Organizers of this rally hopes this not only sheds new light on domestic abuse, but also helps end the violence. Scott Smith, Channel 5 News.
Well, not the best weather for trick-or-treating tonight or tomorrow.
Do the trick-or-treating tonight, because we do have rain coming in for the weekend. I'll have today's 5cast plus the weekend outlook right after this.
You'll save on your do-it-yourself plumbing projects at Menards. Beautify your bath with Design House Tub Surrounds. They're easy to install and easy to clean. On sale starting at $29.88 after mail-in rebate coupon. And create a look with fabulous Price Fister faucets. They're all on sale now. Choose this single-handle kitchen or lab faucet for just $49.99. Save at Menards, your complete plumbing store.
Save big money at Menards.
Clouds have been flirting with the state of Iowa for the past couple of days. Right now in central Iowa, we have some of them in view. Partly cloudy, 33 degrees in Des Moines, mostly cloudy in Ames, 33 as well. The winds are from the east at northeast at 8 miles an hour. Wind chill 23, 89% humidity, and the pressure is rising. We are on the boundary between clouds and rain to our south and sunshine to our north. We've been this way the past couple of days, so we will see more in the way of high clouds. And they will be overspreading the state more so tonight, perhaps bringing some sprinkles in here, and then another weather system bringing more rain for the weekend. High temperatures today with all the clouds only in the 40s. Your 5-cast for Des Moines and vicinity. Clouds and sunshine, a little bit of sun at least. Late day sprinkles are possible, a high of 48 with an east wind 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy with a chance for some of the rain, a low of 39. And tomorrow, cloudy, a better chance for rain, a high of 51. And the outlook for Sunday and Monday, more of the same. A good chance for rain Sunday, 48 to 52. Leftover showers on Monday, again, 48 to 52.
Too bad all that nice weather we had recently didn't wait till this weekend.
We couldn't save it up.
Thanks, Rick. Well, that's the news this hour. Please join us again at 8:25 for another news update.
Until then, have a great Friday morning. We'll see you later.
You're watching Channel 5.
King Kong. Good morning, America, and happy Halloween. And happy Halloween to you, Elvira. Elvira will be haunting your TV set this Saturday night when ABC brings you a special Halloween concert. And good morning, America. I'm Joan Lunden. It is Friday, October 30th, and this morning we look at a growing force on the political scene, and that is the youth vote. We'll be talking about that in this half hour. Charlie, tell us what you're doing in New Jersey.
Well, Joan, I'm at a place called the Candlewick Diner in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and Governor Bill Clinton is going to be coming here. We'll have the 8 o'clock hour with him, and the diner is full of local residents, and we'll be talking with them and with him about the issues that are on their minds. Just to find out what's on people's minds, the local paper here is the Bergen Record. It says on the front, Clinton wins one. Turns out that's a poll of high school students in the area, not real voters. Real voters are inside, and we'll talk to them. Just to locate you, East Rutherford is the place right near Giants Stadium where the Giants and Jets play, so we're in northern New Jersey, a critical state to Governor Clinton. As I say, we'll spend the 8 o'clock hour with him and with residents of this area. But let's go to the news now. Mike Schneider standing by with that. Mike?
Thank you, Charlie. Morning, everybody. You know, running for president is kind of like being a marathon runner. You work yourself beyond what seems to be humanly possible, and then they ask you to give some more. Right now, the candidates are at that stage, crisscrossing the country in a last-minute search for votes. And our latest ABC News tracking survey of likely voters shows Governor Clinton has widened his margin over President Bush. 44% of those polled for Clinton, 35% for Bush. Ross Perot losing ground in the survey, down now to 16%. Time is running out for Mr. Bush to catch Mr. Clinton, and the president's strong attacks seem to be a sign that he knows it.
The only way they can win is to tell everybody everything ain't worth a darn. They criticize our country and say we are less than Germany and slightly better than Sri Lanka. My dog Millie knows more about foreign affairs than these two bozos.
If you're totally shameless when somebody tells you you're not telling the truth and you keep on doing it anyway, which is what Bush does, it's hard for the American people to know what to make of it. I'm glad to have it focused on the last 5 days, but I'll guarantee you it's going to be a two-way street. We're going to press him to the wall, and every time he says something that's not true, I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm going to read a third-party objective source saying it's not true.
Now, I'll tell you this. The two parties, the two candidates, Governor Clinton and President Bush, are not facing our economic problems. I don't think they understand business. I know they don't know how to create jobs. I don't think they understand managing money.
Now, a reminder, Bill Clinton will be our guest in the next hour here on Good Morning America. He'll be having breakfast with Charlie Gibson at that diner in New Jersey and holding a town meeting, a town hall meeting with the voters in the Garden State. One complaint we've been hearing all this year from the voters is that the candidates have been slinging too much mud at each other and there's not enough information about where they really stand, which leads to the question, where can you turn for the facts and just the facts about the candidates? Well, ABC's Richard Davies has one answer.
Bob Abrams lobbied to raise his own pay. Center actually sued to strip a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old of their child support to...
With ads like these, no wonder so many voters are angry and confused. The airwaves are full of political propaganda, with one candidate calling another a liar, a fat cat, a cheat, or all three. Enter Project Vote Smart, a nonpartisan group funded by individual contributions and nonprofit foundations. It accepts no money from any interest group or corporation.
A particular special interest group gives ratings on the candidate that you're looking at, and what area were you interested in?
7 days a week, 15 hours a day. These operators answer voters' questions about any candidate for federal office.
How about the Georgia 6th Congressional District?
Gingrich, and is it Tony Center?
Yes, it is. Let me pull it up here.
Voters who call the free 800 number can find out how politicians get their money and where they stand on the issues, separating rhetoric from reality.
The conduct of campaigns has got into a point where we have attack, ad, response, response, attack, attack, response, and it's very hard for people to sort out what's true, what do I believe.
And it'll be even harder to cast an intelligent vote in many House and Senate races where news media coverage is often more about the horse race than the issues involved. Candidates can pay for political ads, high-priced consultants, and private polls to shape their image.
What Project VoteSmart has done is to pull together a resume for these candidates. We're forcing them to fill out a job application with or without their help.
These volunteers are connecting voters with a vast store of unbiased information. Richard Davies, ABC News, New York.
And a reminder before we go, if you want to call Project Vote Smart, the toll-free number is 1-800-786-6885. That's the news till now. You don't need a toll-free number to get Spencer Christian's forecast. He's here right now, Spence.
That's right, but if you want to call up, I'll give you a personal forecast anyhow. Mike, taking a look at today's projected highs, cooling off significantly as we've been predicting the last couple of days over the northern tier states, and actually is pushing southward as well. Highs over the northern half of the country today will be generally in the 40s, and way up in the extreme upper Midwest here, the northern part of the Great Lakes, and reaching into northern New York State, highs will just barely reach into the 30s. Now, it's going to be a sunny day over New England and much of the Northeast, as it will be over the upper Midwest and down through the nation's midsection, through the plains. Clouds and lots of showers over the southeast, and very stormy, windy, rainy weather in the northwest with heavy snowfall in the higher elevations. Over the weekend, look for the soggy weather to continue in the northwest. Stormy weather will push into the nation's midsection, the plains and lower Mississippi Valley and the southeast. It'll remain sunny and dry and cool in the northeast. That's a look at the national weather. Here's a look at the weather where you are.
Happy Friday morning, everyone. Rick Mitchell here. Well, today's weather doesn't look much different than what we've been having. Let's call it a mixture of clouds and sunshine, a high of 48, maybe some late-day sprinkles. Unfortunately, a good chance for rain on Halloween.
This weather report has been brought to you by Volvo. It's now 36.5 past the hour. Young voters, a potent political force. When Good Morning America continues.
This is my first presidential election, and it's always interested me, but now I have my say and my voice into it.
You look like an angel, walk like an angel, talk like an angel, but I got wise. You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are.
Just when you thought you knew everything about Volvo.
Devil in disguise. Yes, you are. The devil in disguise.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation to the Bahamas, Caribbean, or Mexican Riviera on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Ultima is color. Bold, expressive, provocative color. And Ultima is the naked's neutral, timeless, sensuous color for lips, eyes, face, and cheeks in every shade of gorgeous. Ultima 2. Color Attitudes, a $70 value is your 6-piece gift with any $12.50 Ultima 2 purchase at JCPenney.
I know breast milk is best for my baby, but what if I need a formula?
Gerber introduces our next generation of formula.
Can't you make something that's closer to breast milk?
A new formulation that's even closer to breast milk than before.
Who else can I trust my baby to?
Introducing new, improved Gerber baby formula.
And if my doctor recommends a soy?
Now in regular and new soy.
If it doesn't come from me, I want it to come from Gerber.
These are Jimmy Dean flapsticks. They taste wonderful, the hardest thing I ever tried to explain in my life. Take Jimmy Dean sausage, wrap a nice pancake around it, put a handle on it. You understand that? You do. Try it. Taste that country goodness.
38 minutes after, a sure sign of the emerging importance of the youth vote is that the candidates are courting the MTV crowd. Bill Clinton and Al Gore have already campaigned on MTV, and now even President Bush has agreed to appear this Sunday on the network's political news program, a show he once said was for teeny boppers. So we too wanted to talk to some youth voters. So we took our cameras out to the street. Watch.
I'm going to vote for Bill Clinton because he plays saxophone. I just can't warm up to the Democrats on this one, and I'm going to vote for George Bush.
Perot would be the best bet. I mean, at least he talks of he wants to do something for the economy.
So do you flip between Perot and Clinton? I'm not sure. I'll probably close my eyes and pull a lever.
Clinton. No. He appeals to the young.
And we have also gathered our own forum of young voters to see how they feel about the candidates and the issues in this year's election. Joyel Rollow, 20 years old, is a Bush supporter. Eric Dixon, 22, works for Perot. And Catherine York, 21, backs Clinton. And also joining us is Norm Ornstein, political analyst with the American Enterprise Institute. Nice to have you all here with us. I want to ask each one of you why you've decided to vote for your particular candidate. Joyel, why don't you start?
Well, I think when considering who to vote for, you should look historically. And I think that if we're looking at a Clinton presidency, we can reflect on the Carter presidency as a good indication of what his administration will be like. And graduating from college, I really don't want to be looking for a job and repaying my student loans with high interest rates and inflation like we saw in the Carter administration. And so I think that George Bush has the best economic plan.
Eric, you decided to vote for Ross and work for Ross Perot.
That's right. It's a case where my generation is the most vulnerable of any generation to economic downturns. We're very concerned about jobs, and it's very clear that Ross Perot is the only candidate this year with a proven record of creating private sector employment, and that's what young people need. They don't need public sector employment. They need private jobs in small businesses and corporations.
Catherine?
I think that it's unfair to put Carter on the same step as Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton does have a record in Arkansas, a very wonderful record, especially on the education issue, which is so very important today. It's very important to all three of us because we are college students, and as you said, we have to think about the jobs that we will or won't have when we come out. I seriously feel that looking at the economy, and in the last 4 years, the only way that I can assess the situation is to look at my personal being. In the last 4 years, I haven't been able to attend school for 2 semesters because of Bush administration policies that have directly affected the educational system. I also look at my future and trying to figure out how I'm going to get a job, and it just looks very, very bleak with the Bush administration.
So do I hear that economy is the #1 issue that will make your decision as to who to vote for?
Economy is a huge issue.
With the young voter, economy as well as the paramount issue. Norm, it's a phenomenal 75% of America's youth say that they are going to vote. That's compared to 40% in 1988. What else is different this year about the youth vote?
Oh, there's no question that young people are more engaged and interested in politics this time than we've seen in a very long time, certainly since we got the 18-year-old vote a little more than 2 decades ago. Historically, young people have been the least engaged. This time around, we're looking at something different. 75% say they're going to vote. We still don't know quite at what level they will. But clearly there's a greater involvement, and I'm sure part of it is the economic issue, the sense of uncertainty that's there for everybody in the country, that they don't have the old anchors, the safety nets that used to be there, particularly deep for the youth.
But Bill Clinton has the edge, though, on the youth market. Yeah. What turns the youth vote away from the Republican Party?
The economic issue obviously affects them as it does all others. The social issue matters here, too. As a group, although young people are varied, as we can see from these three, they're not all the same. But as a group, young people have been more tolerant on social issues, and the Republican convention was a problem for George Bush when it came to younger voters.
Are we talking about the abortion issue as well?
And it's family values as it was portrayed, abortion, lifestyle questions in general. Although there's a range there, too, but a lot of those people, the younger people, were made more uneasy.
Joyel, I'm told that you are pro-choice, but you are still voting for Bush.
Right. I don't think that George Bush has the power to make the decision to overturn Roe versus Wade constitutionally. I mean, that's the decision of the Supreme Court. And if you look at the people that Republicans over the past 12 years have nominated to the Supreme Court, Senator O'Connor is very centrist. I don't think that that's the major issue in Republicans nominating people to the Supreme Court. So it doesn't scare me at all to nominate George Bush. In fact, it would scare me a lot more for either Clinton or Perot to be elected.
All right, we're going to take a break here. We're going to come back in just a moment to speak more with our young voters. We will have more conversation when Good Morning America continues.
The final week of Color Tiles Fall up to 50% off Blockbuster. Plus, DuPont Stainmaster $10.99 install. No wax vinyl tile up to 50% off. Gleaming ceramic tile up to half off. Mini blinds now an incredible 30% off. Wood flooring and wall covering. The final week of Color Tiles Fall up to 50% off Blockbuster. Carpet, vinyl, ceramic, windows, and walls. It's the final week. Hurry, sale ends Tuesday.
It's only natural that children look to their parents for answers. So to help you explain why some things that may be fine for adults aren't right for children, Anheuser-Busch offers Family Talk, free advice from professionals to use with your kids while they're still learning to be grown up. And their favorite teacher is you. Let's stop underage drinking before it starts.
Moms have to get up early to make their rounds.
How's my patient?
They know the way to doctor their family's coughs is with Robitussin.
Spoon.
Because more doctors and pharmacists recommend Robitussin than any other cough medicine.
Spoon. Not you too. Spoon.
I think he's coming down with a math test.
Robitussin, recommended by more doctors, pharmacists, and Dr. Mom. And for your little patient, try Robitussin pediatric cough and cold formulas.
Something to say. Now's the time to get it off your chest.
We are back now. It's 46 minutes after 7, and Governor Bill Clinton just arrived in East Rutherford, New Jersey a few moments ago. He, of course, arriving there to have a conversation with our Charlie Gibson, and that will be in our entire 8 o'clock hour this morning. But right now, we are continuing our discussion with young voters. We're back now with a Bush supporter, Joyel Rollow, and Perot supporter, Eric Dixon, and Clinton supporter, Catherine York, and also with us, political analyst Norm Ornstein. Norm, you've been listening this morning to what all of these young people have to say. Are they pretty typical, do you think, of young people today?
Oh, they're much more politically engaged and actively involved with candidates, Joan. We still have with young people less partisanship than we have with people who are their elders. You tend to become more of a partisan as you get a little bit older. The anchors aren't there for as many people, but we're seeing clearly more political activism among youth this time too. The MTV experience is a part of it. There are clearly efforts now to get them more engaged politically.
Well, there was the whole baby boomers. I mean, they all grew up with more of the partisan kind of politics, parties that they were loyal to. And now we have a whole group of people who have grown up really without that kind of party loyalty. Is that going to possibly affect this election?
Clearly, we saw with young people in 1980, 84, and 88 substantial support for Republican candidates for president. Young people who traditionally had voted rather differently were with Ronald Reagan and George Bush in numbers just about the same as the rest of the population. There was a real belief that they would become a Republican base that would become a part of a majority. They're up for grabs right now, and while more of them are going for Bill Clinton and more for Ross Perot than the country at large, they're really there as a possible victory trophy for a party to come along that could make them a base for a majority in the future.
Eric Perot has dropped in the latest polls. Are you backing him as a protest vote or because you think he can win?
I think most Ross Perot supporters are backing Mr. Perot because he's the strongest on the issues. He's got a plan to take care of the $4 trillion national debt. He's the most committed to private sector job growth, which is the real economic growth this country needs. And he's a man of action. He's a man that people can look up to and say, this man should be our president. He has integrity, he has courage, he's going to fight for America.
Catherine, I saw you wanting to talk.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The economy is a very, very important issue, but we have to look beyond that. I think Ross Perot is a very concerned American, a very good businessman, but there are other issues. We have health care costs that are skyrocketing. The crime rate is outrageous, and all of these things have been happening in the last 4 years of the administration. All you have to do is just look back what we've been living in.
I listened to you list the issues, and a month ago we heard the main issues are the 3 E's, economy, education, environment, and yet Bill Clinton the other day listed what he would have as his priorities if he first got into office, and he didn't say environment. Is that not a big issue with young people?
I think that, personally, environment is a big issue, but right now we have to deal with the immediate future. We have to deal with being able to get a job. We have to be able to deal with coming out of college and being able to find health care. There's no money out there for this. We need a president like Bill Clinton who can bring these things about. We have seen in the last 4 years that George Bush cannot do this.
Yeah, got to get up. But all the other young people you know, are they going to vote?
Yeah.
Is everybody saying they're going to vote?
I go to college. I think votership among college is high.
Really? Yeah. All right. Well, it's yet to be seen on Tuesday. A lot of them have gotten out and registered in record number. Thank you all very much. Norm, thank you. Sure. Back to where it all started, our own poll of voters in one New Hampshire town when Good Morning America continues.
Spent the night tossing in bed.
Said some things I shouldn't have said.
Now the sunlight's breaking through. I put some coffee on for you.
Can't help waking up. Oh, I smell that Folgers brew.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mountain-grown beans, specially ground, now give Folgers richer aroma to help wake you up and light up your morning.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
After 80 years, we finally found something to improve. The package. Natural, whole grain goodness. Roman meal. It's that good.
Why is Jim Ross Lightfoot trying to distort Elaine Baxter's record? Lightfoot supported millions in foreign aid while voting to cut millions for Iowa public schools. He voted against requiring corporations to tell us about toxic wastes in our own communities. Elaine Baxter voted to strengthen Iowa schools and help create thousands of new Iowa jobs through export promotion. And Elaine Baxter supports our right to know about toxics. Elaine Baxter, the choice is clear.
It's savings time at Walgreens Photo Center. Right now, get a second set of regular or supersize prints for just a nickel a print. And choose any of these Polaroid items, just $29.99 each. Polaroid's popular one-step and cool cam instant cameras, or a 4-pack of Polaroid film, a $44.99 value, only $29.99. And order your holiday photo greetings. Walgreens offers 6 beautiful designs, colored envelopes, and a free marker pen. Save on all your photo needs at Walgreens.
52 minutes after 7, the latest polls show that President Bush is cutting into Bill Clinton's lead. So we thought it was a good time to check back with the voters in Farmington, New Hampshire. Now, you may remember that Steve Fox visited these folks in August and found that this normally Republican community was supporting Bill Clinton. Now, what are the voters saying today? Well, we've asked David Moore, director of the University of New Hampshire Survey Center, to give us an update, and he's here with us this morning. Nice to have you here. George Bush won Farmington by a 2-to-1 margin in 1988. Now, let's take a look at how things were going for him in August as compared to today.
Okay.
Now, how has it changed?
Oh, well, in August, we had Clinton actually leading Bush, and that's the interesting figure, by 41% to 34%. Today, we find that there's been an erosion of support for Bush, down to 31%, and for Clinton, down to 36%. And the real interesting change has been the rise of Perot. So the difference between Bush and Clinton has narrowed somewhat, but the real thing that we've seen is the growth of Perot.
But this is a significant difference now. We've got Clinton's 7-point lead in August, now only a 5-point lead. Might this erosion continue?
Well, it could.
Is this indicative of the nation?
Well, what we see in Farmington is that there has been a slight erosion of support, and I think we see that across the country, but it's always a danger to predict. I think we were predicting last week, and we don't want to predict now either.
You say that we see that growth.
Yeah.
Who is it that is supporting Ross Perot primarily?
Well, mostly in Perot, we see a youth support. We say, for example, that more support, we get about 23% of the young people between 18 and 30 support Perot. And then among, well, this is by party.
Yeah.
We can see, if we look at the by party, that among independents, where Perot gets his greatest strength, and he draws equally between Republicans and Democrats, 12%. So he's not hurting either Bush or Clinton more than the other.
When you look at men and women,
yeah,
how do they differ in their voting patterns?
Well, we do find that there's a gender gap. We find, for example, that among men, that it's really tied between Bush and Clinton, about 34% each. But among women, we find that Clinton leads by about 10 percentage points. So there's a significant gender gap there.
You've also analyzed the voters by age. Now, how does this break down?
Well, by age, the most significant thing is that Perot gets 23% of the vote among the younger people, and among the older people, he only gets 8% of the vote. We find among the younger people and the older people that Bush and Clinton tie, but among the middle-age group, those are the people that seem to be disproportionately going for Clinton over Bush.
I know you also asked the voters to rate President Bush's performance. What did they say?
Well, nothing has changed. You know,
so things have stayed steady.
Essentially, and it's Bush is only getting about 40% support. About 80% of the people are dissatisfied with the way things are going, and it's not been changed for the past several months. So it's still, you know, very negative for Bush, at least as far as those fundamentals are concerned.
All right, David Moore, thank you very much.
Okay, glad to do it, Joe.
And Good Morning America continues in just a moment.
This is Scrutinized. It's a game where you find as many things that start with the same letter in pictures like these.
Football, a fountain, a flounder, a fan. No, just dry flounder.
It's also a game you'll really get into.
Pajamas, a Pomeranian. Parrot?
Vermeil, Pygmy.
Yes. Flash. There's a balloon.
And
pants.
Ready for round two?
Okay, now.
Honey, this is the flounder, okay?
Play Scrutinized. 24 pictures, thousands of images.
There's a tropical island that's not on any map, though it's easy to find. It's warmed by the sun and caressed by the winds, with its own hidden treasures, local delicacies, and exotic festivals. But this island moves. It's a Carnival cruise ship. So if you go, get there on time and get out your Visa card, because the world's most popular cruise line doesn't stay in one place for long, and it doesn't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Fingers went over the mold of his face. How perfect and foreign he was. How dangerous. This was the glistening, forbidden apple. She kissed him, putting her fingers over his face, his eyes, over his ears, to his neck, to know him, to gather him in by touch. Obsession for Men, Calvin Klein. Your gift with any $29.50 Obsession for Men purchase. Add Yonkers.
Raising taxes is the last thing you ever want to do, and we can't let it happen.
Chuck Grassley understands we can't create jobs by increasing taxes. That's why he stood up to the Washington power brokers and opposed the 1990 budget deal that increased taxes. But Gene Lloyd Jones has consistently voted for higher taxes. Lloyd Jones voted to increase the gas tax by 11 cents and the sales tax a whopping 66%. Maybe Lloyd Jones just doesn't get it, but Iowans do.
Good Morning America is brought to you by Robitussin.
2.5 minutes before 8. It is 4 days now till Election Day. It looks like the candidates will make it a fight to the finish, and Charlie will be with one of those fighters this morning. Charlie?
His name was Bill Clancy. He lived outside Green Bay. He had this.
Well, Joan, we're here at the Candlewick Diner, East Rutherford, New Jersey. You recognize the man next to me, Governor Bill Clinton. 4 more days is the chant, I think, in all of the campaigns these days. But we have assembled a group of, we hope, very independent, tough-minded voters, and they'll be talking with the governor in this next hour. We're going to spend the 8 o'clock hour with Governor Bill Clinton, so we hope people can stay with us. We'll be right back. Good Morning America continues.
A promotional fee paid by Continental with service to every major ski resort in Colorado and throughout the Rockies. Continental, one airline can make a difference.
It's Halloween in Hollywood. Join us for a very scary time from Universal Studios.
Be the terror of your neighborhood with last-minute makeup tricks that can't be beat.
Plus surprise treats. Some of the most frightening food you'll ever see.
There's no place like home.
These are not hidden cameras.
This is not a joke, okay?
It's real parents disciplining their children. Is this the way to get your kids to behave? You could learn a lesson on 2020 tonight.
You've known for a long time that Dixie's Furniture and Gifts has the lowest prices in town on sofas, bedroom furniture, beds, day beds, bunk beds, dinettes, lamps, and everything else for your home furnishing needs. But now, as Christmas approaches, we have a gigantic selection of gifts and novelties, such as musicals, ceramics, unicorns, birds, touch lamps, fiber lights, and thousands of items we can't list in 30 seconds. Dixie's Furniture and Gifts conveniently located 1 block east of East 14th and Euclid at 1515 East Euclid. Open 7 days a week, MasterCard and Visa accepted, financing available.
It's a multi-million-dollar publicity machine, year-round, day in, day out, mailing thousands and thousands of campaign letters at your expense, all of them signed Chuck, using Texas oil money to try to tell you that he's independent. Commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial.
It's time to pull the plug on the publicity machine. I'm Jean Lloyd Jones. I'll work, but I'll work for you.
The cereal's only as good as the milk you pour on it. Nothing but AE.
Clouds mixed with sunshine today, maybe some late-day sprinkles as well.
Welcome to a special Good Morning America. I'm Joan Lunden. It is Friday, October 30th. 2 days ago, President Bush joined us for an interview in Lima, Ohio. Well, today in East Rutherford, New Jersey, Charlie sits down with the president's toughest opponent, Governor Bill Clinton. Charlie?
Joan, thanks very much. Just to locate people, East Rutherford, New Jersey is just in the shadow of Giant Stadium and the Byrne Arena, where the Nets play and the Devils play and the Giants play and the Jets play. But it's political play today. Governor Bill Clinton joining us at the Candlewick Diner here. Very interesting state, New Jersey, because almost half the people in this state say they are not affiliated with any political party. So we have filled the Candlewick Diner here with what we hope is a very tough, independent minded group of people, and they're going to have some questions for Governor Clinton starting in just a few moments. But in the meantime, we have a moment or two to chat. Governor, it's good to have you with us. I appreciate you being here. Everyone has noticed the tightening of the race in the last couple of days, the slippage of your polls, and it seems to indicate that there is still an underlying question of trust about the candidacy of Bill Clinton, and also the fact that evidence of what George Bush has been saying for a long time, that the economy is poised on the brink of a strong recovery, has shown up. Now, how can you have the kind of growth in the gross domestic product that we've had, with inflation down, interest rates down, unemployment going down, et cetera, and still be talking gloom and doom?
For one thing, unemployment has hardly dropped at all. How can you look at 12 years of people working harder for less money and say, well, we have one good 3-month period, let's forget about it all and say trickle-down economics works? If you look at what the economists said about this last quarter, they pointed out that 20% of the growth in the last 3 months came from all the arms sales that Mr. Bush gave away when he got behind in the polls, changing his position and selling the arms to Taiwan, to Saudi Arabia, and to others. Secondly, more than 20% of it came from the American people dipping deeply into their savings to buy clothing as school started and to buy furniture. Now,
even if you factor out those items,
right. Even
though,
if you
you've still got strong growth.
1.6% I don't think is very strong growth, and no one knows whether it can be sustained. Now, I'm glad it happened, but look what else happened. Factory orders dropped. Unemployment claims were up again last week. And the most important thing I try to tell people all along, if you look at what's happened over the last 10 or 12 years, we've had recoveries and we've had recessions. But the overall line is going down. Look at the census figures. The census figures in 1990, Charlie, says that 2/3 of the American people are working harder for lower wages than they were making 10 years ago. Today, another study came out that said the bottom 60% of the American citizenry have had a decline in income over the last 10 years. Those are the facts. This is the first 4-year period when we had no new private sector jobs and no growth since the Great Depression. How can you say that, oh, this economic theory is working, we had one good 3-month period?
But the question I'm raising goes to what's going to happen now, whether or not we really are poised on the brink of recovery. When it comes down to it, there's 4 days left. People have absorbed all the economic programs, they've heard the health programs. It now comes down to a pretty elemental choice between two people. And if this election has shown anything, it's that people don't trust government. And they are very uncomfortable with government, and in the long run, what you offer them is more government.
That's not exactly right, Charlie. I offer them $140 billion in spending cuts. I offer them less waste and more investment of government money. I offer them a national system of health care that is private, that involves managed competition, but that finally controls health costs. I offer them an economic program that increases investment in the private sector. If you look at my program, that's what it does. I mean, George Bush has increased spending by more than any president in 20 years, increased regulation by more than any president in 20 years, asked Congress to spend more money than it spent, sent him a budget last time that 3/4 of the Republicans voted against. He's got all this rhetoric that's inconsistent with his action. I govern a state that's first in job growth, has the second lowest tax burden, and the lowest state and local spending in the country. Now, I think the American people need to look at the guts of our plans. 10 Nobel Prize-winning economists and John White, the man who wrote Ross Perot's economic plan, have endorsed the Clinton-Gore economic plan because it will grow more jobs and improve the income more.
Let me have you stand by. We're going to take a break for a short newscast. We'll come back and go into the crowd here at the diner and take some questions. Let's go to Mike Schneider with the news. Mike?
All right, Charlie, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Charlie's got the governor sitting down there for a while. He better enjoy it because neither he nor the president will have much time to sit over the next 4 days until Election Day. President Bush will be in at least 6 states looking for the electoral votes the polls say he needs to win next Tuesday over this between now and then. Governor Clinton is due to sweep through another half-dozen states to try to hold on to the lead that the polls say he still has. And Ross Perot, we're told, will also be on the road this weekend. Florida, Missouri, and California, the 3 states on Mr. Perot's schedule. One sign about how tense this campaign has really become is the language that the candidates are using now. President Bush has called Clinton and Gore bozos. Bush was telling a rally in Michigan that his dog, Millie, knows more about foreign policy than they do. The president also warned the Democrats not to go house hunting in Washington just yet.
Governor Clinton had his transition team moving forward, the same old liberal crowd that was run out of business in 1980. They're all measuring the drapes, getting the carpet ready. They're coming up short. I am going to win election on November 3rd.
Ross Perot back on the Larry King program last night, and he was saying that he is going to win on Tuesday. At one point, Perot said President Bush is history. Perot also talked about the controversy that began earlier in this week, his allegations of Republican dirty tricks that he said sent him to the sidelines back in July.
Is it thinkable that these wonderful people in the Republican Party might do that? This is the same party that gave us Watergate. This is the same party that gave us Iran-Contra. This is the same party that's up to its ears in Iraq-Gate now. This is the same group that, you know, is always hands off. Gee, we didn't do it. So there's a pattern here.
And full circle now back to Bill Clinton. He gave a major speech last night on an issue of life and death to thousands of Americans, AIDS. Clinton told a crowd in New Jersey that as president, he would appoint an AIDS czar, someone to coordinate all federal AIDS programs. He also called for more AIDS education aimed at children and insurance reform to help AIDS patients make sure they get their treatment. Other health news this morning, the FDA has now approved the use of a new contraceptive, and this one is different because it's injected. It is called Depo-Provera, and we're told it can work for 3 months. It does have possible side effects, including weight gain, but government scientists now say that the benefits of Depo-Provera outweigh any risks, and it is expected to be made available in doctors' offices sometime next year. Other news on this Friday morning, reports say that the U.S. Treasurer, Catalina Villalpando, is being investigated by federal agents. Reports say that she allegedly received money and benefits from a former employer while she was in office. The reports also say Villalpando went on administrative leave yesterday to deal with what a Treasury spokesman called a personal situation. And finally, the former State Department official Alger Hiss says his name has been cleared by a Russian general. Hiss was accused of spying for the Soviets back in 1948. He was never convicted of espionage, but he was charged with perjury for denying the allegations. Now a Russian general says he has searched the files, the Soviet military archives, and found absolutely nothing to show that Hiss ever gave American secrets to the Soviet Union. Alger Hiss is now 87 years old, and he says he always felt that his name would be cleared. And that is the news till now. Time to head back across the river to New Jersey and to Charlie.
All right, thanks very much, Mike. 7 minutes after the hour, as I mentioned a moment ago, in East Rutherford, New Jersey, North New Jersey, the Candlewick Diner here, and we have filled it with some folks from this area. Governor Clinton, nice enough to join us for the 8 o'clock hour. Let's go over and we'll take some questions. I know this is the format that your folks wanted, and I think it's an interesting one. Sir, let me start with you. Do you have a question for the governor?
Yes, Governor, I'd like to know, basically a lot of people support you for your positions with respect to health care, job development, education, and many other. You've indicated you expect to be able to support and implement these programs based on increased revenue from taxing incomes of $200,000 and greater, and also restructuring foreign corporation tax situations. In light of a fiscal crisis that you really can't at this point foresee, or a shortfall in revenue, who of all of these groups in the electorate that are supporting you for these various reasons, who do you disappoint perhaps first, and how do you let them know?
You mean if the money doesn't come in to pay for it?
Right.
If the money doesn't come in, if the money isn't produced by this program to pay for the programs that I've outlined, what I would do is to, and keep in mind, over 2/3 of the money raised by raising taxes from incomes over $2,000 and asking foreign corporations to pay the same tax that American corporations do on the same income. Over 2/3 of that goes to tax reductions in the form of incentives, investment tax credit for new plant and equipment, new capital gains for small business. If we don't produce the money, what I would do is to attempt to either cut more government spending elsewhere to finance the program or slow down the spending programs. We might have to phase in the health care program over a couple of more years. We might have to slow down the education programs. But the one thing, let me tell you this, what my first priority for doing. My first priority is a jobs and incomes program. Stimulate the economy through private sector growth, take the defense cuts and invest them in things like high-speed rail, road programs, water systems, solid waste recycling systems, so we create jobs. Second priority, have a long-term deficit reduction plan. Third priority, control health care costs. Fourth priority, finance the college loan program for all Americans. A lot of the other spending we'll just have to delay or phase in over a longer period of time. And I'll try to do it in a way that's fair to everybody, that has everybody share the phase-in of cuts. But I will not, if the money's not there, we can't spend it.
In the third debate, you said that. You said, if we don't get what I'm expecting in tax revenues, then we'll have to slow down phasing in these programs. Are you saying then that all the stimulus for the economy, the health care program that you're talking about, is based on a maybe?
Well, everything in life that's in the future is based on a maybe, but I think we will get it. Let me say, I asked an independent research firm that does work for Republicans and Democrats and businesses to evaluate just the impact of the investment tax credit I proposed. They say that alone will generate, that one law will generate another 500,000 jobs in the first year and 400,000 jobs in the second year that we wouldn't otherwise have, just through private sector growth. So I believe our figures are good and sound. But if they're not, you know, nobody can see the future with absolute perfection. I will cut spending in other parts of the government or phase in the new programs.
When you were asked what spending recently, let's go on over to the next tip. When you were asked what spending recently that you would cut, you listed a number of things that were already in your spending cut program.
Oh, that's right. But there are all kinds of other things that can be cut. There are demonstration projects, for example, water projects that haven't been competitively evaluated.
That's in the list of cuts that you've already talked about.
No, that's not in the list that I've already talked about. Highway demonstration projects, they shouldn't all be funded. If you're going to increase highway funding to the states anyway, let them make their own decisions about what should be done. There are all kinds of commissions in the federal government, all kinds of little programs that don't affect anybody except narrow constituencies we could just cut out.
I thought that was in the list of $140 billion that you'd already discussed.
No.
You have a question?
Yes. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, sir.
There are millions of homeless people in America, and there are millions of people who are unable to afford housing, affordable housing and whatnot. And I'm wondering, what would you do to help those people, the homeless and those people who are trying to purchase homes and whatnot, if you are elected?
I would attempt to do the following things. First of all, I would try to create more market incentives for the housing industry. I would try to make permanent the low-income housing tax credit to give people extra incentives to invest from the private sector in low-income housing. I would do what I could to reinvigorate some of these HUD programs that not federal programs per se, but that organize partnerships at the local level with local government and developers and bankers at the local level with the government but playing a role. And I would focus with regard to the homeless program on this enormous stock of housing that the federal government owns that's boarded up now. HUD, the Farmers Home Administration, they own houses in almost every city in the country that are boarded up. And I would look at giving some of that stock back to cities and local nonprofit corporations. If they would in turn take responsibility for putting people in their communities to work, rehabilitating the housing, we could take it off the federal books, give it to them, and they'd have to give priority to the homeless.
Let me move to another question here.
Yes, thank you. Will your administration revitalize affirmative action in America?
Yes, I believe in affirmative action. I oppose quotas, but I believe in affirmative action. The import of the Civil Rights Bill that was signed last year was to draw a clear line in the sand between mandated results and the obligation on the government to make sure people got a chance to participate. But let me follow that up. I think one real problem, even with affirmative action laws, is that in the minority communities in America, there's not enough opportunity to get into business, to get the capital to get into business and to succeed or fail. And one of the most interesting things I have proposed, again, a private sector initiative, is to have the federal government take the lead in organizing a national network of banks devoted exclusively to taking deposits and making loans in the communities they're located in. There's a bank in Chicago called the South Shore Development Bank that has helped to revolutionize the south side of Chicago without government involvement by making loans to people in the private sector, loans to really poor people. We put one of those banks in Arkansas, and we found that even in rural areas, it would work. I want that for all of America, and the banking community that I've talked to, very enthusiastic about the prospect of helping to finance that sort of thing.
All right, Governor,
Thank you.
let me take a pause. We've got some more tables to cover here on this side of the diner. We'll take a break, commercial break, be right back. Good Morning America continues with Governor Bill Clinton.
It's savings time at Walgreens Photo Center. Right now, get a second set of regular or supersize prints for just a nickel a print. And choose any of these Polaroid items, just $29.99 each. Polaroid's popular one-step and cool cam instant cameras, or a 4-pack of Polaroid film, a $44.99 value, only $29.99. And order your holiday photo greetings. Walgreens offers 6 beautiful designs, colored envelopes, and a free marker pen. Save on all your photo needs at Walgreens.
You'll be amazed when you try new Healthy Favorites cheese.
Is that a diet cheese? Rather eat the wrapper.
Craig, Healthy Favorites is different. It's from Kraft. Sure, it has half the fat of regular cheese and fewer calories, but Kraft makes it taste so rich, so creamy, so delicious.
Excuse me. This is good. Did you make one for yourself?
Men are so predictable.
New Healthy Favorites from Kraft. It'll be your favorite.
Read my lips. Jefferson Auto Plaza gonna bring you and your new car together.
We're not like the politicians. We're for real. We sell for less, and we're from a small town with low overhead and great prices. For example, we've got this 1985 Voyager for only $158 a month, or this 1987 Caravan for only $179 a month. Bring your title and checkbook to the Jefferson Auto Plaza located next to the Redwood Motel on Highway 30, or give us a call at 515-386-8175.
He was smart. He was fast. And he knew what to aim for. At high noon, he made his move. He went to Best Buy to round up 0% financing for 1 year on home and car stereos, TVs, VCRs, and camcorders. With 0% for 1 year at Best Buy this week, you just can't miss.
Back with Governor Bill Clinton at the Candlewick Diner here in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Let's turn to a gentleman who seems to be having a salami and cheese breakfast here.
Looking good.
You're up.
Governor, I'm a small business owner here in the state of New Jersey, in Newark, in one of your enterprise development zones, a state-run zone. Okay. I've worked for 3 years trying to get my business to a point where I could hire on more employees. At this point, with the tax burden and the health care costs, I'm unable to do that. You propose to raise taxes and also put the health care costs on business. If you were to raise taxes and put that cost on business, how would that create jobs?
He could face a 7 to 9% payroll increase, payroll tax increase, couldn't he?
First of all, let me ask you, how many employees do you have?
It's just myself and my partner. Just 2 of us.
And do you?
Sorry, just 2. I didn't put the mic in front of him.
And do you now provide health insurance?
For ourselves, yes.
Okay, let me tell you how. First of all, let me tell you what the problem is. 70% of the small. I'll come back to the taxes.
Okay.
70% of the small businesses in this country today are like you. They do provide health care coverage for their employees. But because they're small businesses, they pay much higher premiums than employees in bigger businesses do. Under my proposal, before we made you cover your employees or new employees, we would change the insurance rules so that small businesses, self-employed people, and farmers would have access to participation in huge insurance pools. So you could buy insurance on the same terms that people who work for big companies. That would actually lower your costs now. Now, in order to make it work over the long run, you've got to require employers to cover their employees. But that would help the 70% of small business like you who already pay, because your costs would go down. Now, the 30% who don't pay, they'd have to pay something, but we're going to phase them in with the smallest companies going last, and they'd pay lower rates than they're going to pay otherwise. Now, let me say, if we don't do this, what the alternative is. We're already spending over 13% of our income on health care. We're going to over 17% by the year 2000. The only way to avoid it is to deal with the insurance cost, bureaucracy, the government regulation, reduce that, go to managed competition, and then require everybody to be covered. But under the system that we will adopt, the per person coverage costs are going to go way down, so that will help small business. Now, on the taxes, I'll say again, if your income, net income, is over $200,000, your tax rates would go up, but running, not if you're incorporated, but individual income taxes would go up. But you could then lower your tax burden by simply reinvesting in the business. You get an investment tax credit you can't get now. You get a long-term capital gains for expansion of a small business. You get an investment tax credit if you're in new technologies or low-income housing. So for people who put their money back in the business, their effective tax burden is going to go down under my plan.
You follow that?
Yes, I've heard you talk about the enterprise zones. And we have
I strongly support that too.
We have it in the state of New Jersey. Now, how will the enterprise zone on the federal level be different than that on the state? How are you going to implement that?
Well, quickly, all right, under the federal law now, we would have between 120 and 150 enterprise zones that give special tax concessions when you hire people who live in the zone. The zones would be allocated based on low income, high unemployment, and some based on the size. We'll have most of them in larger areas, some in middle size and small areas. But if they work, what I will propose is making them available in every area in the country where the unemployment is at a certain level and the income's at a certain level, so that we will basically, for a few years, try to encourage more investment in places where there is underinvestment now.
Let me move on, Governor. We'll go over to this table right here. What's your name?
Ellen Slazak.
And your question?
Good morning, Governor.
Good morning.
We understand that you support the family leave, but what's going to happen to change this country's attitude so that daycare and family leave is no longer a woman's issue and that it's an everybody issue? And would corporations be encouraged to encourage both parents to take this time? And then, as an aside, what would your money for the Head Start programs do, since it all kind of ties together?
Okay. Let me first of all say that I spent a lot of time talking to working parents and working mothers. I'm the son of a working mother, the grandson of a working mother, the husband of a working wife. And I find that all these issues kind of blend together. What you want to do, given the fact that most women have to work in this society, and others who want to work should have the right to, is to make it possible for people to succeed as parents and as workers. So let me just run through the issues. Family and Medical Leave Act, gives you 12 weeks of unpaid leave when there's a baby born, a sick child, a sick parent. I strongly support that. There's an exemption for small business in it, which ought to be there. Secondly, I think we should give incentives to corporations to use flex time, to give people more flexible working hours. We do that in the state government in Arkansas, and I think we were the first state government in the country to give our employees the option of working flexible hours. The third thing I think we should do is to increase federal funding for child care vouchers, which is what we support in Arkansas. That is, give people vouchers and let them take them to any child care center that meets the standards of safety and education, whether it's a church center or a private center or a public center. And then on the Head Start program, we have a 4-year plan to fully fund it so that all people who are income eligible will be able to send their kids to Head Start. But I think that states should do more. In my state, we do more. We serve a lot of kids who aren't Head Start eligible.
I'm going to have to take a break. You can go on. We'll do that during the commercial break, but I'm going to have to take a commercial break. And as I mentioned the other day, perhaps some of these will be political commercials. That's what's going on these days. But we're going to take...
Iowa needs the Equal Rights Amendment. Look at the facts. In Iowa, a woman high school graduate makes nearly $5,000 a year less than a male dropout. And it gets worse. A middle-aged woman gets paid only 54 cents to a man's dollar. By the time she's 65, she's twice as likely as a man to live in poverty.
In retirement benefits and insurance, discrimination deprives older women of millions. Give women the power of the Constitution. Vote yes on Amendment 1. Equality pays.
If you hold your nose, you can't really taste things because your sense of smell is so important to taste. That's why great aroma is so important to Folgers. Here, smell for yourself. Come on, it's new TV technology. You smell that? They use aroma-roasted mountain-grown beans, then they specially grind them. No wonder people like Folgers better than this other coffee. No contest.
Folgers, aroma so rich, you can taste it.
Tired of being drawn in by department store sale price claims or so-called warehouse stores that say their suit prices are low, and then you end up paying over $200 for your suit, plus extra for alterations. Fact is, you should have bought your last suit, and you certainly should buy your next suit at Foreman & Clark, where almost every suit costs less than $200, including alterations and free after-purchase service. For a century, Foreman & Clark's one goal has been to provide the best dressed men's clothing at the lowest possible price.
Why is Jim Ross Lightfoot trying to distort Elaine Baxter's record? Lightfoot supported millions in foreign aid while voting to cut millions for Iowa public schools. He voted against requiring corporations to tell us about toxic wastes in our own communities. Elaine Baxter voted to strengthen Iowa schools and help create thousands of new Iowa jobs through export promotion. And Elaine Baxter supports our right to know about toxics. Elaine Baxter, the choice is clear.
This is the Channel 5 News Update.
Good morning, I'm Renee Starzyk with this news update at 8:25. First, we saw President Bush here in Iowa. Today, it's Dan Quayle's turn. The vice president heads to Sioux City later this afternoon for a campaign appearance. Quayle will make a second stop in Iowa. Tomorrow morning, he will visit Cedar Rapids. Now, Cedar Rapids is also on the agenda for the nation's agriculture secretary. Dale Madigan is making a swing through our state today. In addition to Cedar Rapids, Madigan will stop in Hudson, Marshalltown, and Des Moines. If you haven't received a call, a brochure, or a visit from a campaign worker yet, odds are you will. As Amelia Hamilton tells us, all three presidential campaigns are turning up the heat in these final days before the election.
Yes, I'm calling for the Polk County Democrats. Calling to see if you've mailed in your ballot.
Volunteers in the Iowa Democratic Party are offering to pick up your absentee ballot and turn it in for you. Other party workers are getting out last-minute candidate mail, while telephone workers coordinate volunteers and precinct workers.
We're running on adrenaline at this point. Sleep is a luxury that most of us can't afford anymore. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to identify as many volunteers, people willing to help us work on Election Day.
The Republican Party is hitting the bricks, going door to door to drum up support.
I think it's really important because it gets the candidate's name out and into the public eye.
The presidential visit has been hard on their staff this week, but party leaders say the work goes on.
There's a lot of telephone calling going on. We are talking to undecided voters, trying to tell our story. We're working with our candidates, helping them put out fires.
They are trying to hammer out support at Perot's headquarters. Workers say they are sleeping very little these days and talking about their candidate a lot.
We're telling supporters of Mr. Perot to call 5 of their friends and say, this is what he's about. Have you heard anything about him? Please listen to his commercials.
While the political parties were concentrating on getting out the vote for their candidates, election officials were learning how to run the polling places and count the large number of ballots expected in this election. Nearly 1,000 poll workers spent part of the day learning the election rules and regulations from county officials. The turnout is expected to be high and the ballot is long. Officials say voters might also want to study that ballot before they cast a vote. Amelia Hamilton, Channel 5 News.
In other news this morning, women and men joined forces last night to fight domestic violence. Survivors of abuse from around the state held a candlelight vigil to take back the night. Joining them was Attorney General Bonnie Campbell, who says she's doing what she can to make the problem of domestic abuse a national issue. Campbell also says she's trying to toughen laws against abusers here in Iowa. Well, right now, Rick Mitchell is here, and it looks like we could be in for some rain this Halloween.
Rain is definitely moving in for the weekend. How's today shaping up? Stay with us. 5Cast is next.
Greg, what's the most important thing you want people to know about Artist Furniture?
Well, Mike, people know Artist means quality and great service.
But there's still people out there that think we're too expensive.
So what do you say to these people?
It's simple. Our quality merchandise at Artis will be sold at the lowest possible price.
The Artis guarantee, quality service, and the right price.
It's how we do business every day.
Artis, affordable elegance.
Good morning, everybody. We have patchy clouds across the state, even had some flurries in Sioux City earlier. Right now it is partly cloudy in Des Moines, 36, mostly cloudy and 35 in Ames. Our winds are from the northeast at 9, 82% relative humidity, and the pressure 30.06 inches and holding steady. Plenty of clouds throughout the heartland, just like we had yesterday. Most of them will stay off to our south. That's certainly where the rain will be. We'll have sunshine off to the north, and high temperatures today will be in the chilly 40s. The 5-cast for Des Moines vicinity, clouds and some sunshine. Some late-day sprinkles are possible, a high of 48 with an east wind of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Cloudy tonight with a chance of rain moving in, a low of 39. And tomorrow, a better chance for rain, a high of 51 degrees, so it does look like a soggy Halloween. The outlook for Sunday and Monday, good chance for rain on Sunday, 48 to 52. And on Monday, showers, again, 48 to 52.
So you'll probably want a jacket if you're trick-or-treating and maybe the umbrella.
Most definitely, and tonight will be the better of the two nights.
All right, thanks, Rick. Well, that's the news this morning. Please join us again for the midday show at 11:30.
Until then, have a good morning. We'll see you later.
Take care.
You're watching Channel 5.
And we continue. It is 8:30, and we are again at the Candlewick Diner in East Rutherford, New Jersey, with Governor Bill Clinton, who's taking questions from some of the folks here that we have gathered this morning. And again, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
We began all of this, and I mentioned that talking about the erosion in the polls, said that you seem to find, when you look at these numbers, that there is still that residual question of trust. We talked a little bit about the economy, where there may be some people who are beginning to turn on that issue. But let me come back to the trust issue. Do you still feel that with people? And do you think it's still based around the draft issue?
Not exactly. I think, first of all, I think it is a general problem whenever a younger person runs for president who's not in, particularly if you run against an incumbent. When John Kennedy was elected, after all, he only won by 110,000 votes in the whole country, less than 1 vote per precinct, with Nixon saying the whole time, you can't trust him, you can't trust him, you can't trust him, which is ironic for Nixon to be saying he couldn't trust Kennedy. And that's the same thing that I've been through here, where all the editorial writers who've evaluated Mr. Bush's record and how false his ads are, saying that a lot of the newspapers that have endorsed me have said we can't trust him. The Portland Oregonian in Oregon endorsed me for the first time I ever endorsed a Democrat in 140 years, and they said they did it because they didn't trust Bush. So but there's a difference when people out here never knew me until a few months ago. And, you know, how do they know? And all I can tell you is I got the trust of the people of my state the old-fashioned way. I earned it. And I live in a state where people know me by my first name, and they trust me. They've reelected me 5 times as governor. I'm the only honestly middle-class person running for office this year, and it's rare to have somebody who comes from genuine middle-class roots running for president, who still is in touch with the friends of his lifetime. And the commitments I made to people at home to fight for more jobs, better schools, and a different kind of government are commitments I've kept, and our state shows it.
Let me ask you one question on the draft issue, and I don't want to go back over the old ground and whether you organized or didn't and all of that, but I was very struck by the interview that Admiral Stockdale gave to a paper in Idaho. A lot of people feel that we need to put the wounds of Vietnam behind us, but they're obviously still there in many people's minds. And Stockdale said, look, because of the protesters who demonstrated against the war, 10, 15, 20,000, as he said, more of my comrades died. And then he said, you war protesters, the blood of those people is on your hands. It's a very strong statement from Admiral Stockdale. And obviously, you come under that category.
But I disagree with him. And I really respect him, but I disagree with him. We never had a commitment to win that war. The only way we could have won it, since we didn't back a side that could win it, was to just go in and blow the other side away, which would have been no victory. And I think the people who were opposed to the war were right. I still believe they were right. We just have an honest disagreement about that. But let me tell you this. The other day, I got in the mail a letter from a person who'd been captured by the enemy in the Vietnam War, expressing his support for me. I've received a Vietnam Battle Ribbon with 7 stars. I've received a Purple Heart. I've received a Bronze Star in the mail from people who fought in Vietnam. And one of the most surprising things about this campaign to me has been the number of military leaders who've endorsed me, including Admiral Crowe, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Presidents Reagan and Bush, a Vietnam veteran, the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of Operation Desert Storm. These people fought in Vietnam, and they think the Vietnam War is over. Now, for people who feel the way Admiral Stockdale does, I respect them. If they want to vote against me because 23 years ago I was against the war, I respect that decision. But I can't tell you that I think I was wrong then, because I don't. I can tell you that I think what happens to the 23-year-olds today is more important than what happened to me 23 years ago.
Let me take a question from over here. Let me have a question from you, sir.
Governor, the infrastructure of the country, roads, sewers, highways, water systems, is in need of a lot of overhaul and modernization, especially in the northeastern section of the country. We have many problems. What is your, and also the other part of my question is on, what is your opinion on incineration? What do you think we should be doing with our waste materials?
Let me, first of all, let me take the issues in turn. One on infrastructure, to drive home that sounds like a $10 word that a lot of people aren't interested in. But it not only affects the quality of your life, whether you have good roads, good water systems, good sewer systems, good systems of dealing with waste, it also affects the wealth of the country. The United States, with all of our deficit, spends a smaller percentage of our income on those things than all of our major competitors. So what should we do? I have recommended that $20 billion a year for the next 4 years be spent on that kind of thing by taking the defense cuts, which are now going to higher health care costs and the S&L bailout, and directing them to those kind of expenditures to put people back to work and increase the wealth of the country. On the issue of incineration, it's not an easy issue, and it's not always possible to know. You know, nobody wants an incinerator in their backyard. There are some environmental questions about nearly all of them, but the bottom line is we need a national strategy that focuses on the following things. Reduce waste production. We produce too much of it. Our competitors don't produce as much. Recycle more of it and provide significant incentives to do that. That'll generate a whole new round of jobs that are pretty good paying jobs. And then when you do have to dispose of waste, have a balanced approach and try to pick whatever does the least damage to the environment. That's what I think we should do. You can reduce the number of incinerators with an aggressive waste reduction and recycling program. I now have in my state, by the way, in our economic program, a whole initiative just designed to help people reduce their waste production.
Going to take a commercial break. One more time. We'll come back. Governor Bill Clinton with us when we continue.
We've had companies.
Rainy day. Flowers say what words can't say. It's as easy as FTD.
Whatever you need to say, your FTD florist can send the right bouquet. And remember,
it's as easy as FTD.
Oh, look, now we can't come here anymore.
Plan's been sold. Remember, 20 years ago we discovered this place?
How could I forget?
It's beautiful today is the day I proposed.
She takes care of herself, and she takes Geritol Complete. All the vitamins you need, plus more beta-carotene than any other multivitamin.
I'll miss coming here. This was our private place.
Still is.
You bought it.
Geritol Complete, for the best years of your life.
Bill Clinton's economic plan, endorsed by over 600 economists, including 10 Nobel Prize winners, as the best hope for reviving the nation's economy. More than 400 of America's most respected business leaders say the Clinton plan will create jobs. A panel of independent experts convened by Time magazine concludes that Clinton's plan has the best solutions to our economic problems. And now even the author of Ross Perot's plan has endorsed Bill Clinton for president. Let's get our economy moving again.
Ultima is color. Bold, expressive, provocative color. And Ultima is the naked's neutral, timeless, sensuous color for lips, eyes, face, and cheeks in every shade of gorgeous. too. Collar Attitudes, a $70 value, is your 6-piece gift with any $12.50 Ultima 2 purchase at JCPenney.
Back with Governor Clinton in East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the diner here, where some folks have gathered to ask him some questions. Let me turn to this gentleman here, ask him.
Governor Clinton, President Bush has been talking about the voucher system in education, where parents can have the freedom to select a school for their child's education. What is your understanding of this voucher system? Do you agree with it? Why or why not? And if you think that education is in need of reform, what are your thoughts about these reforms?
First, I am deeply committed to the cause of education reform, and we do have to reform education and improve it. In the last dozen years as governor, I spent almost all my energies working on increasing the job base in my state, especially in manufacturing, and on improving the schools. I was the principal Democratic author of the national education goals that the governors and the president adopted, so I have lived with this. The Bush proposal is to, in essence, take tax dollars and give a certain amount of money to every parent and then tell the parent they could spend that money in private or public schools, and in the private schools, in church schools or other private schools. And he would encourage states to do the same thing, basically to say, we're going to give you the money and you choose the school that you spend the money on. I have supported a more limited, but I think a better proposal for public school choice, which lets parents in my state choose to send their children to school districts outside their resident one, and helps those who can't afford to do it with transportation. And we had the second school choice program in the country. I do not support the Bush voucher proposal for 2 or 3 reasons, and let me tell you what they are. Number one, there are already 9 other countries that are spending a higher percentage of their income on kindergarten through 12th grade education than we are, already 9. And we have, as you know, here in New Jersey, it's been a bone of great contention here. We have drastic differences in the amount of money spent on our school districts from district to district. In that environment, I don't think we should divert limited resources. Number two, I think there are some questions about separation of church and state when you send the money to religious public schools because of the religious instruction that the churches have every right to support. Number three, and maybe most important, I'm convinced we can get meaningful school reform, accountability, and competition in the system without doing this. So I'd like to be given the chance to lead a 4-year effort to put more accountability, less bureaucracy, and more results into the school systems without the private voucher system. I believe we can do it.
Let me turn to this lady here with a question. You have?
My question, Governor Clinton, is I know we're getting a lot of questions on health care, but with my husband and I expecting our 4th child in March, that was a big concern for us. Not raising, clothing, and feeding the child, but just how we're going to pay to get the child home from the hospital with the high cost of doctor care and hospital fees. And
do you have health insurance?
Yes, my husband does have some from work, but we're
What's the deductible?
$750 per family.
Well, first let me say you're right to be concerned about it. 100,000 Americans a month are losing their health insurance. More and more people, like the small business person in the other room there, have found that they're having to give up covering their employees. And the reason is we are the only advanced nation that doesn't control health care costs. Not only Medicare and Medicaid, but private health care costs. We're the system that mandates insurance reform, reduces bureaucracy, reduces government regulation, reduces unnecessary procedures. In the $840 billion we're spending on health care, virtually every health care expert says at least $100 billion of it is spent on insurance, bureaucracy, paperwork, unnecessary procedures, and billing fraud that would not be spent in other systems in the world, the German system, for example, or the Hawaiian system in our country, where 98% of the people have health insurance, and the insurance rates are much lower than the national average. So my plan would take on those issues. It would mandate national insurance reform, drastically reduce bureaucracy with a simplified plan that everybody be covered on. It would control cost and provide basic health care to all over a 4-year period. Now, a bipartisan commission just looked at it and concluded that my plan would save the average family $1,200 more than the Bush plan by the end of the decade, would cover all Americans, and would, listen to this, would save the economy $2 trillion in the next dozen years to reinvest in jobs. This health care issue is going to bankrupt the country, will never balance the budget, will never restore health to the manufacturing sector, ever restore security to people's lives like yours unless we control the cost and provide it to everybody.
We're going to take another commercial break. I know you have a year's worth of campaigning bottled up in you and you want to get it all out, but I'm going to try to move through. I'm going to try to move through some questions quickly in the next segment.
Affects 100 million Americans.
We'll be back. Good Morning America continues.
Covered all the bases. The way that we fit you, too good to be true. You're gonna feel real alright in all the right places. Just wait till we get our hands on you. Hanes Her Way, Hanes Her Way.
Hanes Her Way sweats, styled to give you the colors, the cuts, the room to be you.
Whoa, just wait till we get our hands on you.
Ross Perot on Politics as Usual.
Our great nation is sitting right on top of a ticking bomb. We have a national debt of $4 trillion. 70% of this debt is due and payable in the next 5 years. This is a bomb that's set to go off and devastate our economy, destroy thousands and thousands of jobs. The two other candidates have told you to just ignore the ticking. They've given you plans that will only delay dealing with the issue. But I've spelled out a solution that will fix this problem starting now. In a few days, you must decide if we should pay our bills and create jobs or just hope this mess will go away as we go over $1 billion deeper into debt every working day. This is a critical time. I know you don't want to waste your vote this year. The fact is, you are wasting your vote this year if you elect a candidate who continues politics as usual. I will not do that. I will deal head on with these problems. I will fix these problems. Cast your vote for your children.
Ross Perot for president.
To me, toothpaste was just a habit, and I bought whatever was on sale. When we were on vacation, I tried the Arm & Hammer Dental Care toothpaste, and I thought it was dynamite. Such a clean, healthy feeling, like the dentist just cleaned my teeth. And then I read that more dentists recommend Arm & Hammer than any other baking soda toothpaste. When I come out of the dentist office, my teeth feel as perfect as they're going to be, and that's the feeling I get every time I brush. And that's a wonderful feeling.
Get Arm & Hammer Dental Care for that healthy, fresh from the dentist feeling of clean.
Back with Governor Clinton at the Candlewick Diner, East Rutherford, New Jersey. He's still answering the last question on health care. Let me go over here. There's a gentleman right behind you who had a question. You in the gray coat, sir.
Governor Clinton, my name is Bob Pasquin. My family's been Ford dealers in this parts for about the last 50 years, and I'm concerned about the impact that your administration might have on the domestic auto industry and naturally the jobs related, particularly in the Northeast. How much you respond to that?
We'll be good for the domestic auto industry, and we'll be good for manufacturing in general. I mean, I have spent the last 10 years of my life trying to build a manufacturing strategy for my state. In the 80s, we created manufacturing jobs at 10 times the national average. Manufacturing employment has declined in America in the last 12 years and increased by 11% in Arkansas. I'm in the job creation business. Now, Mr. Bush has said I'm going to cost jobs in the auto industry because I favor higher mileage standards. But I have made it clear that I would not impose mileage standards that the industry couldn't meet. And that, in fact, I think we'll create more American auto jobs because I want to give the auto companies an alternative way to clean up the air, apart from higher mileage standards, which is to produce more cars that run on compressed natural gas. American fuel. Foreign companies in other countries will not produce cars like that in their countries. That'll all be produced here.
What if the technology is not here, though, for that?
The technology, well, the technology is here for compressed natural gas at very economical rates. If the technology is not here to go to 40 miles per gallon, the the Academy of Science says it's not, I'm not going to impose that by statute. What I want to do is work as a goal with the auto industry to keep increasing the mileage, because we know as we do it, when feasible, it makes the cars more attractive to consumers. But I'm a job creator, not a job destroyer. I'm not going to get in here and create cost jobs. I spent the last 10 years of my life putting people to work. I'm not going to have a personality bypass if I get elected president on Tuesday.
Let me come over to this table over here. Is somebody over at this table with a question?
Yes, ma'am. Governor Clinton, I have 2 children who attend college. I would like to know, for the postgraduate student, what are you planning on doing for them in terms of grants?
Well, let me tell you what I'm planning on doing. I do intend to continue to support the Pell Grant program and to try to increase it modestly. We have a serious deficit, and there's a limit to what we can do. But I have a proposal that I think is the most innovative proposal I've made that could revolutionize education in America, which would permit everybody to get a loan and turn it into a grant. Let me explain how it would work. The student loan program today costs you $4 billion as taxpayers. $3 billion when students don't pay back their loans, $1 billion in fees to banks. I want to scrap it and substitute for it a domestic Peace Corps, a domestic GI Bill. Let anybody in America borrow the money to go to college and pay it back either as a percentage of their income after they go to work at tax time so they can't beat the bill, or by working for a couple of years for their country here at home. So if you borrow 4 years worth of education, you can do 2 years of work at reduced pay as a teacher, a police officer, a nurse in a health clinic, working with the elderly, working with people with disabilities to help them stay at home, working with kids, doing community service work, and pay off your college loan. It would also apply to graduate schools, and if you borrowed 2 years, you'd only have to work for 1.
Cost of that?
The cost of that in 6 years from the day we put it in will be $8.25 billion. 6 years after we start it. And keep in mind by then, the budget will be $1.2 trillion. You're talking about peanuts for the best program this country could ever have to raise incomes and open opportunities to people.
Lady here.
Governor Clinton, I've supported your economic recovery and job training program from the beginning. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts for experienced workers over 50 who are really forced out of the workplace and still have a lot to contribute to their country.
You'd be amazed, first of all, let me tell you, you'd be amazed how many times people ask me that.
Really?
Absolutely. And let me give you some good news that I can't take credit for. I will have nothing to do with this. The workforce of America is aging. All the baby boomers are now in the workforce. The younger people coming in now are not as numerous as people in my generation and 18 years younger than me. As a result of that, there will be inevitably, if we create more jobs, there will be more job opportunities for older people. But the key thing is to set up a system of lifetime retraining so that older people are always as properly trained and as appealing as younger people, and then to enforce the age discrimination laws against age discrimination, and I'll do both.
Demographic changes in this nation, the first nonpartisan issue I've heard from either candidate.
I wish I could take credit for it, but that's going to happen regardless.
Well, in time, maybe. We're going to take a commercial break. One more segment when we come back. The governor with us. We'll be right back.
You're just in time for Red Lobster's 3 new trios, just $9.99. Our new seafood trio, our shrimp trio, and our mixed grill. All 3, $9.99. So hurry in for something great tonight at Red Lobster.
At Easy Spirit, we've made high heels that are as comfortable as sneakers. So just imagine what we can do for a casual shoe. Easy Spirit casuals. There really is a sneaker inside every shoe.
Far from Bourbon Street, in its own little corner of the Garden District, is the most fabled house in New Orleans, the Maple Street Children's Bookshop, where the folks who write the books also read them. So if you go, bring your wildest imagination and your Visa card, because at Maple Street, they'll take you on a truly magical journey, but they won't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
Remember,
and if you elect me president, you will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
average family income down $1,600 in 2 years.
You will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
Family health care costs up $1,800 in 4 years.
You will be better off 4 years.
The second biggest tax increase in history.
If you elect me president, you will be better off 4 years from now than you are today.
Well, it's 4 years later. How you doing?
It's savings time at Walgreens Photo Center. Right now, get a second set of regular or supersize prints for just a nickel a print. And choose any of these Polaroid items, just $29.99 each. Polaroid's popular one-step and cool cam instant cameras, or a 4-pack of Polaroid film, a $44.99 value, only $29.99. And order your holiday photo greetings. Walgreens offers 6 beautiful designs, colored envelopes, and a free marker pen. Save on all your photo needs at Walgreens.
Before the hour, we're going to try to make this the lightning round. Governor Clinton, we only have 2 minutes, so we're going to try to get a bunch of questions in. Quick question here.
Yes, Governor Clinton, would you continue this town meeting type of interface with the electorate if you're President of the United States?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That, going places on the bus, you know, the way I survived as governor was I run downtown. I talk to ordinary folks. I let people ask me questions. I'm going to keep doing the town meetings. Don't want to get out of touch.
Over here, way in the back. Can we see somebody way back there? Okay, go ahead.
Governor Clinton, I'm going to ask you a question, your opinion on an issue that we were discussing with my friends the other night. Do you think somebody that is not faithful to his wife can be faithful to, as a president, to the people he serves?
Yes. I think that we've seen that in presidents in the past. But if you're implying that I'm not, you're wrong.
No, I'm not implying that.
Question
the
over
answer
here.
is, based on American history, the answer would be yes.
Question here.
As Governor Clinton, on that student loan program that you were talking about implementing, I have one question. Would that conversion to a grant apply to loans taken out before you became president?
It's a parochial question.
That's okay. Yes, if you're still in school. I don't think we can afford to do it retrospectively because we have to phase in the cost, but it will cover students that are still there now who can convert.
Final question right here. Ma'am in the glasses, you had a question?
I did.
Oh,
in
yes,
reference to retraining, in the 80s, a lot of industry went overseas, and I was included in the workforce. And I found that a lot of people who went for retraining, they're still out of work, especially older people.
That's because you can't have a retraining program without an investment program. That you have to have an investment program. That's why my economic program is important. You can't bring the deficit down until you get the economy growing. You have to retrain and invest. You have to create jobs if you're going to retrain people for them.
Governor, my thanks to you. It was nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
4 more days.
You all were terrific. Thank you very much.
We will talk to you soon again, I hope. It is 5 minutes before the hour. Good Morning America continues. Stay with us.
You got it.
I feel good. I knew that I would.
Senecot laxative tablets work like second nature overnight.
So good, I got you.
Forget about 60 Minutes. You won't believe what Ross Perot has to say Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on ABC. Just watch the feathers fly.
Yeah, my plane was 3 hours late last night.
Late? What about our presentation?
I'm all set.
But we made changes after you left.
Yeah, Jim faxed them to me.
And you made the changes?
On all 20 copies.
At that time of night? Well, how about the charts?
Done.
And the transparencies?
In color. Everything's bound and ready.
That's great. But how'd you do it?
Connections.
Connections? What connections?
Kinko's, your branch office 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
As a congressman, Jim Ross Lightfoot has dropped 1.4 million pieces of junk mail on Iowa. We need Elaine Baxter, a new leader in Congress, on our side.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always come through. It's decaffeinated too.
Mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. It gives you something the other leading brand doesn't. Richer aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. Good Morning America is brought to you by Kinko's.
And we close our thanks to the folks at the Candlewick Diner here who gathered to talk with the governor. And again, our thanks to Governor Clinton for joining us on this hour, 4 days before the election. Obviously, next week, complete election coverage on Good Morning America and on ABC News. On Monday, we'll talk to some more undecided voters, if there are any left by then. And on Tuesday and Monday as well, we'll be talking to a panel of pundits on just the way the race shapes up in the final days. So we'll see you on Monday. Joan?
All right, Charlie, I know everyone's attention is on Tuesday, Election Day, but don't forget tomorrow is Halloween for all you trick-or-treaters. Play it safe. We want you to have a good time, but by all means, be careful. And from all of us here at Good Morning America, have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Good Morning America, in our 3rd year of being #1 for news and information in the morning.
Hollywood. Join us for a very scary time from Universal Studios.
Be the terror of your neighborhood with last-minute makeup tricks that can't be beat.
Plus surprise treats. Some of the most frightening food you'll ever see.
There's no place like home.
The Cinderella of the Boulevard meets the Prince of Wall Street.
I've got a runner in my pantyhose.
Julia Roberts.
Close your mouth, dear.
And Richard Gere. Sunday at a special time.
Slippery little suckers.
It's
Pretty Woman.
This is the Heartland.